Hello and welcome to this video. Today I'm going to open Sophie and Toffee's Mermaid box. This is of their Disney subscription box line and I bought this with my own money. I'm not sponsored by them and I'm not affiliated. The front of this box has this really beautiful Ariel artwork, which can also be found on the front page of the booklet. And on the inside of the box lid is this really cute image of flounders with the shell. And on the inside of the rest of the box there is the line "Find Your Own Voice" with some shell decorations all over. And if we lift this little insert we can see all of the things that are inside here, and I have to say it's quite a lot. And the first thing we have in this box are some beautiful mica powders, and they come in the colors lilac, bluish green, lemon yellow, pale red and white gold. Next thing we have is a Sophie and Toffee's 1:1 ratio AB resin, and resin bottles have this really beautiful area design, including this diamond LED UV resin. We also get some mixed glitter with some larger and smaller parts, and it has these beautiful green and blue colors. The first mold in this box is this Ariel's voice shell mold, and it is a two-part mold with a kind of stopper thing you put in the top to make it hollow. And we also get a light and a necklace with some accessories to fasten it. I don't know if the bezels were supposed to come in some kind of bag, but mine were all over the place. And all of the bezels have this tiny Disney logo on top. And the first bezel we have is Ariel while she's sitting on a stone with the water splashing on her back. Next bezel is the underwater castle, and I think this bezel is really pretty. Then we have Ariel's voice shell as a bezel. And then we have Ursula, and I think the back of this bezel looks really funny. Then we have another Ariel bezel, and I think she's wearing a dress with this one because she has this kind of frilly detail on top of her arm. Then we have Flounder, the little fish that always accompanies Ariel, and of course Sebastian. And lastly we have this shell and also a mermaid fin, which has this really nice looking pattern inside of the fin itself. Next up is this iridescent foil, which is cut up into little pieces. The last mold in this box is this giant fin hair piece, which also comes with two shells. Last thing in this box is this really beautiful resin embed foil, and it comes in color this time, and the artworks are just stunning. I tested if the area on the stone artwork might fit behind the bezel, but it doesn't. And now that we have all the items in the box, let's check what's inside the booklet. And on the first page there is another beautiful artwork, and there's all of Sophie and Toffee's social media information. And they also provide some instruction videos on their social media pages. The first item we have in this booklet is this area voice shell, and apparently the necklace and the light go with it. Then we see the dinglehopper hair mold. And on this next page they have listed all of the resins they included in this box, and I totally forgot to show you guys the rose scented crystal LED UV resin, which I put aside because honestly I really didn't like the smell of it, so I just put it in a bag immediately after opening the box. And here we can see a list of all the bezels they included. And then on the last 2 pages they show the design film and the glitters they included. And on the last page they mention the mermaid color pigments and the necklace with the LED light, which by the way comes with batteries included, at least mine came with it. And I played around with it a little off camera, and it's really hard to twist it without having something in the hole they provided for, like the necklace or something. So you really have to exert some force to get it to light up, but the light is a really beautiful warm light. And on the back side of the booklet we also have a really beautiful artwork. As first project I decided to make the dinglehopper hair ornament, and I decided to use my own UV resin purely because I hate to open a new bottle when I already have some open. And I decided on using UV resin out of curiosity if it would even work. And I decided to use some shimmery blue pigment powders and some fine green glitters for the thin part of the hairpiece. Since this thin mold has some really fine details, I purposefully overfilled it a bit to fill in all the nooks and crannies, and then I scraped the rest off with one of my silicone tools into the shell mold that is on top. And for the curing process I'm actually first using a 30-second curing with my UV light, and when I feel like it is stable and cured enough I bend the mold slightly to give it the desired shape, and afterwards when it's cured enough so I can mold it, I'm putting it on a tape roll because it had the perfect circumference to give me the right shape I wanted. For the dinglehopper mold I'm using some silverish purple mica powders that I have from my own stash, and I'm just dry brushing it inside of the mold in some spots. And then I'm using some green shimmery pigment and this mermaid glitter they provided in the box. And with this mold as well, it's really thin, so I cut a wire to size beforehand to support it, because I have the feeling if I would just use resin it would immediately break when I use it as a hairpiece, and since resin stays soft when it's this thin, a supporting wire should work. While the hairpiece was curing, I decided to start on the voice shell, and I'm using some brown pigment powder which has a gold shimmer and some iridescent blue and pink foil which I got in a previous Sophie and Toffee box. And I'm carefully popping the bubbles before adding it into the shell mold. And for this shell I decided to make it a little underwater scape, so I'm adding some dried plants in, like flowers and red moss and stuff. And I'm sorry that you can't see it that well on camera, but it's really hard to film the inside of this mold. After the first layer was cured, I'm going to use some blue glow in the dark and some pink and blue glitter for the final layer, which will fill up until the top of the mold. And I'm not filling it completely to the top so that this spacer thing can still fit into the top. And with that we're on to the next project, which are those bezels. And I had to press them into the tape firmly because of the Disney logos hanging from the side, so that there would be no gap. Now for the colors, I'm using Sophie and Toffee's pre-colored UV resins, which I got in some of the previous boxes. For the shell I decided to use a thin coat of white first so the colors would come out better. And I just spread it thinly to the bottom with my silicone tool. For the castle I decided for some stone grey in the bottom and then this bluish green. And this was a really viscose resin, so I also had to use my silicone tool to place that properly inside of the bezel. I put the rest of the UV resin from the hairpiece inside one of the shell molds and decided to make this a hairpiece, so I used one of those clamps from the previous Sophie and Toffee box, and I'm just adding some metal glue to secure the clip. And after molding the shell, my projects for this Disney box are finally done. And I have to say, this box had some very fun projects. I especially love how my underwater scene in the voice shell turned out. And it does actually slightly glow in the dark. I am pleasantly surprised how well the hairpiece holds in my hair actually. And I'm happy that I decided to put in the wire, because the resin does bend quite a lot and the wire helps it to not break. I think this is one of my favorite boxes from Sophie and Toffee, because I actually like doing all of the projects. And the only thing I really didn't like from this box was their scented UV resin, which I guess some more people might not like the smell of. I personally thought it was way too artificial and soapy smelling, but I'm sure there will be some people that will use it and actually like it. It's just nothing for me. Now, please tell me in the comments down below if you would have gotten this box or have gotten it. What designs would you choose for the voice shell? Would you just make it a shell color with a light in it, or would you also make some fancy scenery in it? And what colors would you choose for the hairpiece? I'm really curious about that. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a great day. Bye!